Greetings, friends. I am delighted to be here today for another edition of this your ARDURRA podcast. Today, I happen to be in the presence of our president and CEO, Mr. Ernesto Aguilar. Ernesto, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I've been wanting to have a podcast with you, both of us immigrants from El Salvador who came and somehow made it in the American dream, but your start with in Canada. I'd like to know a little bit about those beginning years and how the migration happened and why it happened.
Sure. Like you, I was born in El Salvador, actually. All my family says Salvadorian. My parents decided to move to Canada when I was about 5 years old. My mom's sister, my aunt, lived in Canada, I think for a better life, better health kind of options. I think they decided to move to Canada. At that time, by the way, Elio, nobody knew what El Salvador was. There was no war, that kind of stuff. Anyway, moved up there, moved into a immigrant area full of Portuguese. I actually thought that was my language. And speaking to all the kids, I thought that was
Fala português?
Sí. Portuguese. I went to French schools in Montreal, Canada. My parents only spoke to me in Spanish, and English I picked up somewhere along the way. I actually ended up going to immersion in English. My father, immigrant guy, ended up getting a stroke when he was about 29 from working 20-hour days, the typical immigrant. Did extremely well, had a lot of issues, but worked hard. I watched him through the years working, how much energy and heart he put into things. Became a very successful land developer in Eastern Canada. And when I was growing up, he told me, look, I want you to get an education. He had an 8th grade education. He said, get a college degree and you can do what you want after that. And that's what happened.
Yeah. And early years, and what got you to ever think of a career in engineering?
I actually did not want a career in engineering, I'll be honest with you. I wanted to be a stockbroker. I actually dabbled. I got really interested in stocks when I was in high school, won a whole bunch of contests. And my dad said, absolutely not. Go get a degree. And I said, engineering, sounds good. And then you can come and work in my business. So when I did get out of school, I did graduate as a structural engineer, got out of college, moved as far away as possible, just do it on my own, and moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, which is on the other side of Canada. But that's really how it started. And I said, let me give it a shot at this engineering. And that was my interest. So it necessarily wasn't what I went into. I just wanted to get a degree.
Yeah. And what was after college, what were the first things that you do, and when did you become a registered professional engineer?
So interesting enough, so I moved to Vancouver, worked as a structural engineer for this for 4 years, and I remember sitting there one day and saying, structural engineers do not go to a client and say, do you have a bridge? It just doesn't happen. And so I knew that wasn't going to be for me. I like the people interaction, the business part of the business. So I actually switched more into municipal engineering. So I actually went backwards. I did municipal engineering for a couple of years, got registered as an engineer in Canada, more in the civil side. Ended up starting my own business. My future wife actually encouraged me to start my own business, started complaining about a certain company. Ended up joining a partner of mine, and we ended up having about a 35-person firm. It only took us about a year and a half to build in Canada. And so that's how I got into it, became more of so my expertise was more in the city engineering, public works design. That's what I used to do.
Yeah. And when did marriage happen then?
Marriage happened. She was right. Let me marry this woman. So we did actually end up, I met her in Vancouver, my wife. A funny story, I actually grew up about a block away from her in Montreal. We never knew each other. Both our parents my father hired her father as a contractor. And I actually went to her house when I was 15. My parents bought furniture. I didn't realize that it was her house when I was 15 years old.
Small world.
Small world. So Vancouver is like Seattle, very drizzly, rainy, and it started affecting my wife's health. She had her own business too. We sold both our businesses, and we were going to move back to Eastern Canada. We said, well, we have no kids. Let's go somewhere else. So after a year, we decided to move down to San Diego, California. And the idea was to be there for 1 year. Ended up staying 14.
Early employment?
So after
in the U.S.?
Yeah, I joined a water firm, about 100% water firm in San Diego. Again, the idea was to stay for a year and then go back to Canada. 6 months after I got there, that firm got acquired by a pretty well-known firm called PBS&J. But I ended up staying at that company, which became Atkins for 14 years. Probably had about 30 different roles in those 15 years. I don't think I'm exaggerating. From mostly sales and operations roles But that's how I ended up kind of starting more on this, what I'm doing now.
That was your boot camp
Probably, yeah.
for becoming the person that you eventually became.
Well, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. And so tell me a little bit how the ARDURRA idea developed and how that came about in your life.
Okay, so let me continue from Atkins because I think it's important to know that in between. When after 14 years, my last role at Atkins, I actually run a big part of North America operations for the firm. As cool as that sounds, I decided to leave the firm and join a firm starting out, almost from scratch, called NV5. So I joined NV5 when it was about 200 people. They just gone through an IPO, and they hired me to be their COO. And during that time, the firm went from about 200 people to 2,500 in about 4 years. Did almost 40 acquisitions. And since I was COO, I was very involved and saw how they were building the company. After 4 years, I said, okay, I've had enough. It wasn't for me. And I decided to come here and join P and kind of start a firm from scratch. And that was started talking to them in 2017 and joined at the beginning of 2018.
And the ARDURRA idea, how did that come about?
Yeah, so this is private equity backed company.
Mm-hmm.
I started talking about 6 months after they started the company. When I came on board, there was no idea. They actually said engineering. They actually did not know the difference between water or actually, as a matter of fact, they thought the same engineers could do the same work. So I came as COO. I actually did not know what my role was going to be here. They brought me in for M&A and to helping operations. And I realized the companies did not know each other. I think we were about 190 people. So we came together, and one of the companies, the third company, was ironically called ARDURRA, which is the name we took. And they had a very high-end water business. So when we sat down, we brought people together, and we said, why don't we use that as a kind of a jumpstart and build a high-end water business? And when we reach 100 million in revenues, we'll transition to transportation. It's probably going to take a decade, is what I figured. And where are we going to do this? We're going to do this so at that time we had 5 offices. We had 3 offices in Florida, 1 office in New Orleans, and 1 in Houston. And where are we going to do this? What we call the Big Smile. Pacific Northwest, coming down California, Arizona, Texas, Florida, all the way to the Northeast. We said, let's start with the grin, from California to North Carolina. Why? Because it's fun. But really, it's the highest growth areas in the U.S. It's kind of where people are moving the migration of population. So at that time, the PE companies thought I was joking about it. I said, no, it's not a joke. And that's when we started. In 2018, we made our first kind of acquisitions, kind of moving forward.
When did private equity become involved?
Well, this is kind of a unique company because they actually started the company, just before I came, which, by the way, in 2017, there were, I think, 7 platforms in private equity in our sector. There's over 120 now, just to give you an idea of how much it's grown. So when I actually went out and said MP, nobody knew what that meant. I said, it's not physical education, look at me, right? But it was very new. So the P guys bought a company called King Engineering to start the platforms. And like I said, I started talking in 6 months. But that's how they started, but they didn't really know what it meant. And so we actually had to put the details together to build what it is now.
King Engineer had quite a bit of a reputation already here in the state of Florida.
They did, but they actually, at one point, there were 400 employees, a lot of private development, but they got really beat up during the last recession. When they got acquired, there were 100 employees. So it had actually to come down quite a bit.
Yeah, but they were 3 decades.
3 decades in the 60s,
Yeah.
reputation. I think, honestly, I don't think they had a good transition plan in ownership. And I think they, during the recession, got beat up. The PE guys approached them, and that's how the company started.
Yeah.
May 1st, 2017. By the way.
Yeah. I have a question I'd like to learn a little bit more about. There are some folks who says, oh, they're a private equity engineering firm, as opposed to us that we're employee-owned. Any particular difference in the philosophy of the two? I find that there isn't very much.
There's different kinds of companies. There's private companies, public companies, private equity. I hate to say which is one better than the other, because all models can work a certain way. Private equity, like the first word, is private. We are a private company. We are not under the quarterly mandates of different results. but we have capital behind us. And there's no way ARDURRA would exist without private equity. As long as you find the right partner, you can do tremendous things. So it is a private company. We're not under the guise of a monthly results. Also, we have this massive amount of capital behind us that we can grow like a private company. That we can grow to very fast, like a public traded company. So when people I hear, people don't understand what private equity is. I think there's a fear what a private equity could be. You find the right partner. It's the best formula that I've seen in my career.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts about the RTC partner times and the transition into the new equity firm?
When I left, so NV5 was known to be a very, they were kind of one of the first ones to kind of start putting companies together in our industry. That's what they were known for. So I had a lot of opportunity. PE companies were interested in NV5 because of my resume there. I joined these guys specifically for one reason. There were two guys. RTC stands for Round Table Capital. They named the company over a pizza place, Round Table Pizza. And true story. But this was their first company. And I said, I know nothing about private equity. If I'm gonna learn with these guys and build a company together. And that's exactly what happened. So it was more venture capital in many ways. I actually went to meetings with them, helped them raise money. Probably best thing I did is actually starting with guys like this, who weren't really private equity at the time, and we were able to be very successful together.
And the years with RTC were prescribed to be so long, and then after such time you would change to another private equity? How is that established?
Yeah, private equity. So if people don't know what private equity means, you have individuals of funds who don't want to put all their money in the stock market. Instead, they give these private equity companies who invest in building companies, and they could get bigger returns. Companies together are worth more than apart. But they usually have about a 5-year time frame. 5 years, they want to give their investors their returns. New ownership goes on, and so you go to another private equity. So that's normally the normal time frame. I think we stayed with RTC about 5.5 years, and then we just joined our new partners in 2023.
John.
Little John.
Yeah. Any commentary, any difference that you have noticed between the two, or do they pretty much leave you alone to run the company?
Very different. Very different. So private equity, very well-known, established private equity company, about 100 staff members. Right now they have 16 portfolio companies, different industries, so you can tell, extremely different. RTC was great. Love those guys, still friends with them, but we outgrew them. We outgrew them in terms of being able to get capital and kind of support that we needed. Little John brings a lot of capital, a lot of different support. We just right now are kind of strengthening our back office. Just got a new COO and a new CFO, and they helped us. They help us actually recruit in the kind of area. So yes, very different. I could see it. Again, not wrong. I think we did the right thing starting with RTC. But I think for where we are now, our size, Little John's a very good partner.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Are they involved in our industry, in our business? Not really. They let us run our business. We ask them for help, especially when it comes to financials and M&A, that kind of stuff. They come in and help us.
There are no other engineering firms within their portfolio?
They're not. We're the only ones.
Yeah. So basically what you have to do is do your engineering business well, and you're in good shape.
Correct. Yeah. You make the returns and all that. We're the ones who source the companies on M&A. We produce all the HR, keeping our employees happy and all that. And they pretty much, once a month we get together, tell them what's going on. Other than that, they're really not that involved.
Yeah.
Unless we want it to be. When we need help, they ask and they come in and help.
Ernesto, as you know, I came from two very large consulting engineering firms, and I see ARDURRA now, and I notice this enthusiasm. There's a lot of people who are very excited about the lack of politics, the lack of, several things that happen in large corporations. How do you see that continuing here at ARDURRA?
I always say, Elliot, to a degree, this company has been built on my baggage. I think I actually dislike bureaucracy. I think there's a difference between bureaucracy and processes. And I think those companies get to an extent where they overly internalize a company. So when we started the company, we actually concentrated only on external stuff, sales, which will probably take care of 90% of the operations. If you have a lot of sales, enough work. Now, I do understand as a company gets bigger, we have to put processes in place. You ask anybody in this company what I hate the most, and you'll hear that I detest bureaucracy. Yes, it is something we have to keep an eye on. I'm actually telling everybody, when you see something that is bureaucratic, bring it forward, because we don't want bureaucracy to overtake the company. Process is a different thing, and I know we need to put that in, but it is going to be a battle as we go on. And I'm asking all the employees to please help us make sure we don't become that.
Yeah, I think that there's a feeling of openness and candor that I notice with the companies, particularly with the companies we acquired here in Miami-Dade County. We happen to be in front of the airport, and we acquired a water company and a transportation company. Tell me a little bit about those acquisitions, if you would, please.
So the ones here. So, ironically, Eliu, I was just talking to somebody this morning. In this office, about 6 years ago, almost to the day, I signed a lease because we're growing from 6 to 10 people. So we're getting we're almost doubling in size. We're about 145 here in Miami now. So Miami was always, when I came, King had a big operation, about 120-person operation in Tampa, and we had 6 people here. And to me, that seemed kind of like, nothing wrong with Tampa, but it shouldn't be the other way around. So we made a focus, Miami being a focus. We acquired a firm called Pavita Highway Designers first, which is a firm transportation. And these guys are doing the signature bridge going through downtown Miami. Rolf Pavita, incredible entrepreneurial guy, and we acquired him at the end of 2021. And then 300 Engineering, Franklin Torrealba. All you have to do is meet Franklin Torrealba, and you can see why incredible entrepreneur guy. Brought him on board, and together these guys have grown. I think we're about 145 people now. New headquarters, we're opening the grand opening of the headquarters tomorrow, so Miami's become our headquarters of the company. So quite a climb from 6 people.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I have noticed tremendous institutional health within those 2 organizations, 300 Engineering and Pavita, very happy to be part of this ARDURRA group now, and I think that's just simply exciting.
It's not just them too, it's across the company. So, Elliot, we're very selective of the firms that joined us. To me, you have to join this club.
Yes.
And to join the club, you have to fit certain goals, certain criteria. And so this permeates across the whole company. Very close group. You asked me about bureaucracy. Very entrepreneurial guys who are also fighting bureaucracy, so they're helping in keeping this entrepreneurial spirit of the company. But yes, Miami simply exemplifies the rest of the company.
What are those characteristics that you look for in a company when you're out there looking to grow?
So we have what's called a 3F rule. First one is a fit, and we call it's like a beer fit. It's like a date. Do we like these people?
Would I have them over to my house for dinner?
Right. Do they laugh at my jokes? That's not a good thing, by the way. But do they actually, is someone we can actually get along with? And the reasoning for that is, as you're going through an integration, there's going to be obstacles, and you need to be able to talk to these people. Do they talk about their employees and clients the same way we would? That's probably about 2/3 of the formula, I'll be honest with you, because then it's going to be an easier integration. Second F, future, is 1 + 1 = 30. Are we both better off together? Do they have stuff we don't have? Vice versa. Do we have stuff they don't have? Can we realize their goals, their dreams? Because many of these companies, they don't have the capital maybe to grow. They want to make sure their employees get opportunities. We never look for a company that's guys want to retire. That's not us. We also look for companies who are doing very good margins. So companies that are well run, but they just need to go to the next level and can't make that capital thing. So future is next. We're both better off together. The third is financials, meaning do they feel they're getting something that's what they want, fair, and for us too, for a shareholder. Because we don't want someone coming in already feeling, oh, this is not what I like. So those 3 Fs have to actually work out for us to move forward.
Those are very fundamental, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has got to be that chemistry.
Absolutely. It's like a marriage. I'll tell you the story here, Eliu. We had a deal that we had actually had. We gave them an LOI, which is a letter of intent. And it was taking so long. So one was a older partner and a younger. The younger did not want to sell. The older did. it became obvious they weren't ready. So I called her up and said, look, I made a marriage proposal, and you are having problems setting the date. My marriage proposal was the LOI. And I said, it's time for us to break up this marriage, this proposal. And she got it. It's like a marriage, and we moved on. So it really is like a marriage, 100%.
This must be a very exciting world, Ernesto, growing the company by mergers and acquisitions, but we also have significant organic growth.
Yes.
Is there a target that you have for the growth distributed amongst those two?
I always say M&A is a lazy way of growing. I know people look at me, yes, we probably would not have been to this point with M&A, but organic growth is healthy. As a matter of fact, you do M&A to accelerate organic growth. So we've been double-digit organic growth. At the beginning, we were probably 30% growth. Right now, we're between 15 and 25 every year. PE, people think PE is about buying companies. Absolutely not. PE prefers organic growth. You acquire a firm and make it grow. That's successful acquisition. In terms of percentages, we try to grow organically no less than 10%. M&A, you know what? When it happens the right opportunity, but we don't actually put a percentage that we want to grow at. We look for kind of opportunities that make sense, but no less than 10, 12% minimum organic growth every year.
Could you share with us one of the brightest moments in your M&A history that you said, yes, this happened, this was it, one that's very memorable to you, and one that you say, this one didn't work out, that you really lamented?
So 2018 really was when I came on board, kind of cleaned up. I became CEO in September of 2018, and the company wasn't in great shape. We had no name. It's another story in itself. We just figured out the strategy that we talked about earlier. I needed to bring a whole bunch of back office. So 2019 was really entire cleaning up the company, naming the company. We spent a lot of work bringing it to a shape where we can actually grow a foundation. And a lot of the people in the company didn't have a lot of M&A experience. But a big company came to market, and I said, we're not going to get this company, guys. But I want us to go through the whole process so everybody learns. So we're going to go for it. And we did, and we won, which is L&V, okay? And L&V added almost 50% to the staff. And I'm like, so to me, that moment, we were not expecting to win. We were just ourselves, and we went there, and they had over 30 offers. And then we ended up coming in, a small company just named. To me, that was kind of almost a pivotal point in the company that we can do what we want. So that was a special acquisition.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that story.
No, I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't. It's certainly exciting to realize these goals, and it's probably seeing your family grow. It's like having another child for you.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they're all good kids, by the way. I like them all the same.
Yeah. And how did becoming CEO come about?
So that's an interesting story. When I got interviewed, I didn't realize that they actually had interviewed to be the CEO. They just didn't tell me. So I got hired as COO and to help them with M&A. After a couple of months, when I put the strategy, they called me into their office and said, what do you think of the company? And I actually told them I'm actually not interested. And then they told me, we actually hired you to be the CEO of the company. We just didn't tell you. You don't seem to really interested. And I actually said, no, I'm not interested. And they actually asked me, tell us what you want in terms, and I came up with a list. The only reason I'll take this role is this is the list. And I'll tell you what the list is. One was I wanted us to hire a whole back office, HR especially. HR, finance, and IT. I wanted us to put some money into IT. I was worried about hurricane hitting. And no M&A for a year because we were in good shape. So with those conditions, they said, I said, I'll take it, and they said, we'll move forward. So that's how I did. Yeah, but I did not come in to be CEO. That was not the reason.
Yeah. Many people wonder about the buzz, that Ardurra has created here in the Miami-Dade County area, and I presume it's the same in other states.
Yes.
There's some special feeling. People are happy here. Employees are delighted to be part of Ardurra, and there's such a glow to the brand, and I don't want to lose that, and I like the excitement that you bring to it. here, particularly in Miami. Ernesto, tell me a little bit about the opening of the headquarters.
So we decided about 2 years ago, and the company was getting to a new stage, new partners, growth. I think we're the 84th largest firm in the U.S., so we really scaled up quite a bit. And it was time to kind of shake things up. So we said, let's move the headquarters to Miami. So why Miami? Big international hub, growing city, growing presence for us here. I'll be honest, an easy place to get to, and it's Miami. Very cool city, very fun city, kind of vibrant, which I think emulates a little bit what we're about. So that's partially why we moved here. So tomorrow is going to be the official opening. Beautiful, beautiful offices, as you know, beautiful.
Backdrop of the
Yes.
Miami airport.
Yes.
Really couldn't ask for
Yeah.
anything better. Ernesto, the core services that we continue to provide will remain the same, and if you can tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about them.
Water, I told about that story. Let's stick with water, high end. Top water firm in all the categories in the U.S. now, so we're recognized as top water. Transportation, we said we're going to be very more picky. Niche market specialties, aviation, multimodal, ITS, which is Intelligent Transportation Systems. We're being a little bit more selective. We want to be known as a firm that does stuff not all firms can do. Specialty in many ways. Those are our main markets. We still have public works, we have environmental, we have all these pieces that go into it. But when you ask me what are we going to be about, it's going to be water and transportation. And those are going to be our core.
I'm quite familiar with the water, the full cycle services that we provide to our clients. Can you tell us a little bit about the aviation services? What do we want to become in the aviation industry?
Yes, and just for percentage-wise, about 60% of the company's revenue is water. So we are a water firm. About 20-25% is transportation. So aviation, very niche. People think it's just roads. It's not. Aviation is very specific. There's certain guidelines. Think about it. There's a massive, I don't know how many tons an airplane is hitting. I don't know how many 100 miles per hour. It's a very specific design that not everybody can do. So very niche markets, well thought of, well funded, and we wanted to get into that. We acquired a firm in the Northwest called TO Engineering that had about 70 airports, and we're actually looking at more acquisitions. But that's about 70% of our entire revenue, aviation. We love that market. We love it.
We want to stay in planning, design.
All from planning all the way through construction administration.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I have a couple senior folks here in the Miami area.
We do, yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
are really gung-ho about everything. Ernesto, now that we have this growth platform, what message would you give to a young college grad or an intern that has spent some time with us about a career with Ardurra?
Maybe, and I hate to be generational about it, but sometimes people they don't realize that it takes time to get to a certain thing. To me, I'm glad I was an engineer first to learn the trade, do the engineering part. So it's easier for me to go buy companies to say I've been in your shoes. But probably the most important thing, and I think you can relate this to, Elio, is the network, right? This company, in many ways, would not exist without a network. Network of brokers, of employees, or even other CEOs who help you out. And to me, I tell young people, get involved in the associations, get involved in your industry, besides engineering. To me, it's like the personal stuff, right? Your relationship over everything. To me, this is build your relationships, build a big network. And I've actually concentrated on that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reach into that deep bench.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about the technical side of the company and the chief technology officer and all these other guys that are really powerful within the industry.
Yeah, it's easy to say, kind of cool company, growing fast. We're kind of a tech nerdy company. We love nerds. This is a very high end in terms of the work we do. There's a brown bag every week in this company. We actually have an R&D program. We have like a Shark Tank thing where employees come and bring some ideas, and if we like them, we'll actually sponsor them. We're actually going through a couple of patents right now. But to me, one of our missions is to provide the best possible solution to our clients. In order to do that, you have to keep up with technology. So a lot of, you mentioned Chief Technology Officer, which is Jim Kaiser, but we do put a lot of emphasis on the areas we work on. Just by nature, our work is pretty high tech, but we're making sure we keep ahead of it. So yeah, we're proud of some of the work we get. We're proud of some of the to be able to stay on top of technology and provide our employees and our clients the best that there is could be out there.
Yeah. Any word of advice to people at ARDURRA who are beginning their career beyond the networking and the participation in societies regarding the wealth of knowledge that they can find within the company?
You know, one thing I do tell young people, I think be true to your heart what you really like. There's technical, there's operations, there's business development. I think people feel sometimes in order for them to move up in the industry, they have to leave the technical side. We need more technical people. We actually, if that's what you love, find a way to grow in that if you want to call it career path.
You will be equally rewarded.
Absolutely, and I think some people feel they need to move in another area, not because necessarily they like it, but in order to move their careers. And I always say, I never did that. I moved around. I wanted to find my way. But I always pursue what I liked, not really what I thought was going to move me in a certain direction.
If you're not doing what you like and love,
Absolutely.
you're not doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
I've seen way too many
Right.
good plant designers move into a management role and they hate it.
Right. But
You
they
know?
felt they needed to, Elliot.
Yeah.
So-
It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. I have to say that you have learned many lessons, Ernesto, in this role and all these acquisitions. What would be the biggest learnings, in this process? How do you detect, I have a good prospect here, or no, I'm not? What are the signals that you look for?
Well, I'm still learning every day. I'll be honest with you. The day I think I've learned everything, I'm dead. The day I think I know it all, I'm dead. So I've probably been involved in 50, 60 acquisitions in my career. They all have a little nuance to it. It's people. You're dealing with people. And you're dealing with people, engineers, who don't necessarily like change. And it's normal. When you come in and say you're being acquired, what do you think first? Is my job on the line, right? You're actually touching someone's livelihood. So we're very conscious of that once they hear it, they hear nothing else. So I think that's the one thing. We're talking about people and people's lives. Forget about all the other stuff. Be conscious of, and you can tell when someone's already scared. So we're very conscious of that.
Yeah. I have to ask you a question that's very near and dear to my heart, Puerto Rico. An investment that the company has made. We have now 7 contracts over there, and very exciting things happening to us. What is your vision for our future in Puerto Rico?
Well, it started with you, Elliot.
Yes.
We had so many times the company's been built on a champion. If we have an employee that's going to champion something, we're going to invest in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Puerto Rico, it was you.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, maybe 3-4 years ago, you came forward. You had some connections down there, and you wanted to try this. Let's do it. Let's see if we can do something with it.
Yeah.
But really, you've been the champion. So what is the strategy? The strategy there is to follow that champion who's going to make us grow for us.
Yeah.
And that's happening. So that's the strategy.
Yeah. We have created such a good reputation with the program managers that are there now, and great relationships with the clients. They have a program lasting for the next 10 years. We
Incredible.
have, so many things happening over there. So I'm really excited, and thank you for the trust.
Yeah,
Nothing could have happened without you giving me that trust, and this is something that I really appreciate. And so let's move on to corporate social responsibility. I'd like to talk a little bit about what the company's doing out there with the community. I know that this is an important part of the emotional salary that people receive here at ARDURRA. Building emotional capital at an institution is fundamental. This is something that's supported from the very top, because I know you've been, supporting everything. What do you see as our general policy for CSR?
So we actually have our ARDURRA Cares. As you know, we have an organization, a philanthropic organization that we fund. We actually go through the employees again. There's some people who have their organizations for special personal reasons that they may support, either be cancer or dementia kind of programs. There's different ones. We actually have a group of employees that actually decides who's going to distribute it. To us, the things we do, transportation, water, it all touches human lives. Support the communities where you're at. And I think we do. Our employees are very involved, and they're the ones who come up with these programs. The company will support the employees in their programs. That's how we've been doing it.
It's phenomenal. We
Yeah.
supported this Vimenti in Puerto Rico, as you
Yes,
know. We
see.
gave them strong support, and now the charter school is growing. We're also supporting several causes here. One very near,
And that's you. And that's you.
yeah, one very near and dear to my heart, which is the support we give to the migrant workers in Palm Beach County. I'm a teacher. I teach the migrant workers basic English. I teach them to say things like "it's up to you," so they can so they can sound like they know what they're saying. But that's very exciting, and it is something that I have found a lot of support here with the staff. This has
Very
been
much.
yeah. It really, I have to say that ARDURRA pays one of the highest emotional salaries in the industry. People are happy to come to work here. People are excited to be here, and that has to do a lot with what trickles down from the
It
top.
has to do with, so one thing we do, Elliot, when we started the company, we started an employee council. So here was the idea. We'll work on the M&A and the financials. You guys do everything else. All the programs, every single program, and there's tons, as you're aware, Elliot, in this company has come through that employee council, which is 30 people in the company. They think they rotate, and the same thing with our benefits. We ask them for their ideas on benefits. So they're building a company with us. All those employees are part of this company kind of moving forward. So it's not just us.
It's it's something that I really feel that employees have supported quite a bit. This employee council,
Yes.
feeling that you have a voice, feeling that you have a
Yep.
voice within the company, that and that you can affect change. So, Ernesto, talk to me a little bit about legacy. What kind of legacy? Because all of us have temporary jobs. This is not something we're going to do forever. But what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind at ARDURRA?
Well, one thing is, when they decided someone else take over, I don't want anybody to notice it. To me, that means the company has been well established, and it's not dependent on one person. Not the company, ARDURRA should be about everybody. So I don't want anybody to notice I'm gone. I think the company continues with the principles of opportunities for the employees, good work for their clients, all the social stuff you're talking about. But I do hope not to really have people to notice that I'm gone. I think that's a very good means we've built an extremely well company. I think we're already there, actually.
Yeah. It's so exciting. Ernesto, any new frontiers that you're looking at?
Always. Always. That's our DNA, right? That's our DNA. We stick to that strategy. The smile goes like this, and it stops in DC area. We're not finished there. And we're doing what's called now kind of more deeper relationships in those states that we have. But we're continuing. We have a very small percentage of the entire work in terms of water and transportation. So we're not done. And yes, we still have a whole quarter of the smile to complete.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet.
Yeah. A message to the new generation of STEM students and people who will watch this program. We're looking at a career in engineering.
What a great career. This is what a great profession. That you can do engineering, you can do business like I have, you can do business development. The work that we do impacts mankind. Water, wastewater, transportation. I haven't heard of many engineers who say at the end of their careers that they have not have had a fulfilled career. So especially right now, as you know, Elio, the engineers right now are coming out and there's tons of work, probably for the next decade. So take advantage of this career. It offers so much, all the aspects in terms of business, technology, many things. I am so fortunate that I listened to my father and got a degree and been able to, not doing stock trading, but I've done all this other stuff that I think I've been able to.
So again, Ernesto, I want to thank you for everything that you do, the things that you have done for the employees, and all these initiatives that trickle down to the employee. This is very exciting, and I know a lot of people are going to be so happy to see the human side of Ernesto Aguilar. And I look forward to having another program with you when some more things continue to happen within ARDURRA. Again, thank you for being in the program.
Appreciate the opportunity.
And to you all friends, thank you for being with us in this ARDURRA podcast, and I look forward to seeing you in our next program.